Welcome back once again. This is Rod Powell. You're listening to You Should Get a License, the podcast edition, your number one source for information, education, inspiration on the most underrated opportunity in business today. That is a career in the insurance industry, the financial services industry. Really excited about the guest that we have today because he's really doing something that's revolutionary and evolutionary, in this industry, as we move forward into the future. And someone who I met recently and got a chance to talk to, but just want to give you a little bit of background because I'm really excited about the conversation. Mr. Joshua Morey, he's a chairperson of Origin Insurance Group, based in San Mateo, California. He's also president of the J. Morey Company. And really what Origin does is amplify the voice of diverse communities throughout America by providing resources, services, and perpetuating planning for independent agents and brokers from diverse backgrounds. So they have offices in Hawaii, California, and also Massachusetts, and represent really a wide variety of personal, business, and specialty insurance from 40 plus national and international carriers. In addition, Joshua serves on many boards that serve the Japanese community. He serves on InsurTech boards. He was actually recently featured in the Independent Insurance Agents and Brokers of America magazine. He was actually on the cover. So he's kind of a big deal. He's also the co-founder of Asians in Insurance podcast and a founding board member of the newly formed Asian American Insurance Network. And just a great guy. He's a father. He's a husband. He has 3 kids. He looks like he's 25. So I'm trying to figure out when he started. But just really excited to have this conversation. Mr. Joshua Morey, welcome to You Should Get a License. How you doing, Joshua?
Wow, what an intro. I did all that. No, it's all about who you surround yourself with, and really a lot of gratitude for all who have came before me, all who are working with me now, and the communities that we serve. So I'm just so grateful to be on this podcast with you, and it's great to see your face.
Absolutely. You too, man. You too. We met, and I was really just kind of impacted by our conversation, and I want to go into some of the details of that for our audience here. But first, just to start off, as I mentioned, with our platform, it really is about educating people about the different aspects of this industry. There's a lot of different market segments. There's a lot of different things that people do. So if you could just share a little bit about, Origin, about your agency and really what you guys specialize in and what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, well, I mean, insurance, man, it's the greatest industry created to mankind, right? And so it's recession-proof, it's pandemic-proof, and really it's a service industry. So, if we can be of good service to not only our clients, but our communities, we'll have value. And so, yeah, really kind of my story starts. And when I tell my story, I have to go way back. So late 1800s, my great grandfather immigrated from Japan. And you'll see why I tell this story. But he was one of the first business owners in Little Tokyo. It's based in Los Angeles, very Japanese American community. And he built one of the largest businesses called the Asia Company at the turn of the century. So going into the early 1900s to the 1940s. And the Asia Company, we owned a ton of land in the community. We were a very prosperous business. And then World War II hit. And, during that time, the Japanese were seen as a threat to America. And we were put in, they call them internment camps. Our community calls them concentration camps. We were given a very short amount of time to take 2 bags. And we had to spend 2 years in these concentration camps throughout America. And, during that time, everything that my great grandfather had built up was lost. He couldn't pay the mortgages on the properties of the land. He couldn't pay any of the business expenses. And so, he lost everything. We lost a generation of progress during that time. And I share that story because, my great grandfather and my family and our community hates talking about it, but it's an important part of our history. Because I can only stand here today from the community that went before me. And it was only after the war that we came back and our whole community came back to nothing, absolutely nothing. Had to rebuild everything again. And we all supported each other. Me supported my grandfather and great grandfather in trying to rebuild their business. It was tough. It was at that point that my grandfather had a great friend in insurance. And so he got into insurance, and my father and my uncles followed my grandfather, and we started our firm, the J. Morey Company, in 1980. in Little Tokyo, Los Angeles, and then had the opportunity to continue to grow. And it's fast forward almost 40 years later, myself and some of our younger partners bought out my dad and uncles in the past 3 years. And I think the pandemic, what it was great for us was it gave us kind of a reflection point. Is okay, we have another opportunity here to rethink the way that we do business, and what would be meaningful to me, Josh, like 30 years from now when I walk away from my career. And it had nothing to do with how much money I made or how many people respected me. And as they really nailed into it, did I have a role in perpetuating the future of my minority community who has gotten me to this point where I can stand today and make decisions like that? And that's where Origin was born. The whole platform of Origin was remember where you come from, create a new future. And that's what we do. We care about community, we care about diversity, we care about the legacies within all of our, and bigger than just Japanese communities now, within all of our diverse communities in America, we have different stories, but similar stories. And so that's, where we've gone in Origin now. We're just, we're trying to use insurance as the platform to continue on the legacies of our diverse communities.
Absolutely. Isn't it amazing how, you talked about, your grandfather, coming to the country, starting his business, growing it, then during World War II, really losing everything, coming back, finding, this industry, the insurance industry, leveraging opportunities there to reposition, the success of the family. And now that has sustained even over multiple generations. I wanted to just point out how amazing it is that, and I wanted to get your take on it, how this industry can be a catalyst and a vehicle for so many other things, because now you're evolving it into the next part of that legacy, right? And even though insurance is kind of the foundation of it, it's really much, much bigger than that. There's two parts to this question. The first is, why don't more people know that this industry is so powerful, in your opinion, from a career path? The second is, why isn't it shared that this can be a vehicle for the other things that people want to do to impact the world as well?
Oh man. Okay. So the first part of that question is, why don't people know about this as a viable industry to go into? It's interesting because in Japan, and I would say in the UK or London too, a lot of people that graduate from the best universities go into insurance. So if you go to the University of Tokyo and you get a job at Mitsui Sumitomo or Tokyo Marine or Sampo, you made it, right? And there's this, and I think because in those cultures, maybe that the insurance industry is fully embraced too, as this is a great job. And I think here in America or in the West, I don't think we've done a great job at really telling the story of what the true opportunities are, or even the history or the value of insurance and the stability of the industry. So, I mean, that's across the board. I think specifically for our minority or diverse communities, I feel like there hasn't been great efforts put into awareness within schools, within at job fairs to really promote insurance. And I'm one of the very few that, at least in our community, that actually went into insurance. So I think that's partly an answer to your first question. And then the second question was, say it again.
The second question was, in addition to the fact that, people aren't necessarily looking at it as a viable career for you. And I do remember you sharing with me that, in Japan, like, hey, that's the pinnacle, right? Like this is the industry that you want to be in. And here it's kind of the opposite. But one of the things that I think is very, very important that you had mentioned is that, hey, insurance has been the foundation. Even with your grandfather, insurance is the foundation. But there's still other things that you can branch off and build and grow into. Right. So the question was, how come that information isn't exposed as much, or why aren't people, looking at this as a way, even people who are in the industry, why isn't it commonplace to say, hey, yo, I know I have this insurance foundation, and I'm doing this and I got this license, but I actually could utilize this to go into real estate. I could utilize it to start a nonprofit, to forward an initiative that I care about.
Yeah.
Why isn't that a part of the discussion?
In a lot of ways, insurance is very transactional. And so we bind a policy. If someone needs to add a car, we add a car into the policy. If someone needs to, adjust their payroll for workers' comp, then we can do that. And it is very transactional to an extent. But I think the beauty within insurance, we get to know so many industries because we insure a lot of different types of people, a lot of different types of businesses. And so we get to learn a lot and make these connections. Now, you can keep those connections and those relationships as transactional, or you could also leverage those relationships and those transactions as, in whatever you want it to be. What, like you said, it could be, hey, you can start a real estate vertical to be able to continue to service your client, or even within financial services, you have a captive audience. You can, if they trust you, you can offer more. I think the pivot that I took was, hey, we know so many people and so many businesses. Why don't we try to do something for the broader community as a whole? Right. And we're trying to, we're in the midst of creating a foundation for our company too. So that can be really the arm of Origin Giving. And then how do we do that in the best way? And, we're thinking about these giving circles where not only are you giving money to organizations, but you're creating these circles that are looking for ways to also actively get involved while also giving money. And so I just don't think it's really been shown as a model for us to be able to do all these other things when we've just been this transactional insurance agent, right?
Absolutely. I saw, there's a story when you were telling about your grandfather, I heard there was a story that I read about recently dealing with JCPenney, right? Do you know about JCPenney and how he used his life insurance policies?
No, I don't.
Okay, so when JCPenney's, when he started working for the owners, of these stores, and they had a few stores. They were going to open up a third store. They said, hey, if you want to run this store, you can. He ended up running the store. He did well. The other owners, they started having some type of conflict. He ended up buying them out. He bought the 3 stores, and that's how he became JCPenney's, right? That's how it became JCPenney's. So in 1929, when the Great Depression hit, basically the entire economy shut down and he was about to lose everything. But he had a life insurance policy with cash value that he utilized to fund his payroll through the Great Depression to keep his business open. Isn't that crazy?
It's amazing. Yeah. It's creative too. Yeah.
Very creative. So, it's like, now he was doing it on a consumer side, right? So what I've also seen is I see nonprofit organizations that are connected with agencies. Like they'll own an agency, and the agency is helping to fund the initiatives, for the nonprofit. There's education foundations that are doing this. There was a transportation type of foundation that I saw in DC that was doing something like this. There's so many opportunities there, and I commend you for saying, hey, look, we can leverage this, because it'd be great if more people thought on that scale, right?
Right.
Because there are so many opportunities. So you guys at J. Morey, and I know Origin is kind of branching out, being more philanthropic, but at J. Morey, you guys are specializing in the property and casualty side. Like where are you guys spending most of your activity focus?
Yeah, we're pretty much property and casualty based. We do have, so one of our partners under Origin does only human life benefits. So we do cross-selling with them since we're all under one umbrella. And the same thing in Hawaii too. Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, your audio is kind of cutting in a little bit. It is right now. We'll see as we continue to speak,
Oh, I'm sorry. these AirPods,
Yes. My wife and I go back and forth about the Apple and Android thing, all the time.
Yeah. And I'm here in LA. It's 100 degrees outside and my kids are screaming out in the house. So I have the garage closed and I'm burning up in here.
Oh, nice.
Humanizing what we do here is, I'm trying to have a quiet place. It's the only quiet place in my household.
Man, quiet places with kids. You got young ones too. Yours are what, 974.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you got babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. No, we'll keep going with the audio there, but no, you were saying as far as the specialization. So you got the human services under
Yep.
Origin, the PNC, the property and casualty under Jay Morey. Is there anything else that you guys are typically working inside of, doing any specialties out in your neck of the woods out there in Cali?
So we're going to be launching a wealth management platform later this year as well. There's just so many opportunities with the current clientele we have to be able to now also provide like 401k services for businesses or wealth management services for our clients. So we're going to be launching that later this year. And then, our whole thing is anybody that joins our Origin family, we want them to maintain their name, their legacy, their commitment to the community. So we have Noguchi and Associates in Hawaii, which is one of the largest agencies in Hawaii under our umbrella. And so that's the distinct part of us, is that everyone does have a unique story and legacy, but now we can share resources at the top with Origin, from IT to InsurTech, accounting, HR, and whatnot.
No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Look, and you got, if I'm not mistaken, now you have the largest Asian American owned agency. Is it?
That's
in
correct.
The country?
In the country, yeah.
In the country, right. I told you guys, this is a big deal, man. This guy's a big deal. Right now. So look, okay, all right. So I'm gonna step away from the industry for a moment. I want to talk about just Josh the man. More so, I want to talk about Josh the boy. Okay, I want to go way back, 9, 10 years old. Did you know that you would be going into this industry? Is this where you always wanted to be? What did you dream of being when you grew up?
So as a boy, I wanted to be a player in the MLB, and that's what I dedicated my childhood to, is baseball, baseball and soccer, really. And so, yeah, at 9 years old, I was going in my dad's office cleaning the toilets, and so that was my only frame of reference for insurance. So I was like, I want no part of this. And but my dream was to be a professional baseball player.
Okay, all right, nice. So, okay, so you're a young athlete. How do you find your way into this? So you played in high school. You were playing all the way through high school. Played in college as well.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
How do you find your way into the business? Like, how does it grab you and reel you in?
So let's see. So after high school, I had to make a decision where I wanted to play college baseball, and so I chose a school called Wheaton College back in Chicago.
Okay.
And that's a whole story in of itself, but at the end of the day, it's where I was meant to be. Okay. And after college, actually went to Japan for 2 years with a group called Athletes in Action, and got to host a lot of international games. Also got to play a little bit of professional baseball while I was there. And my whole dream was to come back and to play in the MLB. Now, end up coming back, and those dreams, I think I'm realizing I'm probably not good enough to make it there. And so the next step was that, okay, what do you want to do? I want to work for MLB, or I want to become a college baseball coach. And so I went, and if you want to be a college baseball coach, you have to have a master's. So I went to school and got my master's degree. And while I was trying to pay for my master's degree, this was 08, 09. And, I couldn't get a job anywhere to pay for grad school because, the recession. And the only job I could get was selling office supplies door to door, and literally was given a map, right and tight around every block, hit 130 doors a day. And if I got 2 sales, and this is 100 degrees outside right now, I'm walking around in a suit and a what looked like a phone book to try to sell office supplies. And surprisingly, I did decently well. And I told my dad after I went to grad school that, they're giving me an opportunity to continue working here. And so I'm going to pay off grad school, continue working. There's a company called Quill.
No, Quill. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he says, well, if you're going to, why wouldn't you do insurance? And are you getting any recurring revenue from each sale that you're hustling on? And he convinced me to get into insurance. The deal was I would only do it until I paid off grad school. But, 15 years later, this is where I am.
Right. So starts as temporary, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a minute. So you and maybe do you think that played into your benefit to, work with that company, do that door to door, really kind of establish, that type of regiment? Do you think that helped you when you made the transition into the business?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I selling office supplies door to door was not easy, and so selling insurance after that was a piece of cake.
Right.
So it definitely did prepare me.
No, I wanted to point that out because, I find that, if you work hard in another industry, specifically in a sales industry, and you make the transition to come into this industry, your likelihood of success is going to be way more likely because of just the rhythm. Like, that door to door, like you going door to door, you said 130 doors a day in 100-degree weather. Yeah.
Yep.
So like just establishing that rhythm, you get accustomed to that. You get used to it.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got licensed, when I first got into the industry and I started in worksite benefits, I had never, I was not big on driving long distances. If it was 2 hours was far, right? Mm-hmm. But over time, listen, it would be 5 hours one way, do what you got to do, kind of come right back, and that's the day, and it kind of is what it is. It's like you get conditioned into certain things, and for you that probably happened twice, because obviously as an athlete you had to be very disciplined with your day to day. Then you took this sales job and you're doing that day to day, and now you just bring all of that over, into the business, into your dad's agency at the time. So it started as temporary. How did it become permanent?
Yeah, I think once you get into it and you actually see some of the recurring revenue, it's enticing. I don't have to reinvent the wheel every year. And when I was with Quill, they would preach it's a law of numbers. If you hit 130 doors a day, you're going to get 2 sales. And the same is, hey, if you make 130 calls today, or if you make calls you're going to get the sale. Law of numbers. And really, if you're willing to work hard, you're going to get those sales. And then that reoccurring revenue year on year just continues to repeat itself. And you look back 5 years later and you're saying, wow, I got a stable 6 figures job if I don't make 1 sale this year, right? Or it could be sooner than that. It could be 2 years. Right, exactly. And then, okay, then how do we bump that 100,000 or 300,000 or whatever it's going to be? It's building on top of what you've already accomplished, rather than let's do a numbers game and just continue to repeat the sale.
Yo, what you just said, I hope somebody who is non-licensed and has never thought about getting into this industry just heard what you just said. Because essentially what you just shared was, when you get into this industry, you work for 4 or 5 years. In that 4 or 5 year time period, you can establish a 6-figure or multi-6-figure income. And then at that point, even if you didn't do anything else, really, you're just kind of maintaining it. You're just changing the oil, on the vehicle. You're still going to maintain that income. You don't really have to do any more work. So you can just continue to build. Why wouldn't everybody just want to be in this business? I don't get it.
They don't know about it.
They don't know about it, right? I saw a statistic recently that there were only 422,000 insurance sales agents in the U.S.
That's not enough.
422,000, 330 million Americans in the country with 422,000 insurance sales agents. That's a mind-blowing statistic, right? So thank you for sharing that, because that's a highlight. Let's kind of transition a little bit, and you've been running the business. So at what point do you go from running the business to saying, hey, look, I want to put my bid in to take over?
Yeah, there was many times along that process where we almost gave up. And I say we because the partner that I work with, Kevin Fukuyama, he's just as much in this as I am. And we were charged early on, okay, we have to build these, commission only sales. You would think that I'm the boss's son. I get some preferential treatment. Now I got to work harder. And so he said, okay, commission only sales. When is it going to be time that we can take over? And I think it did take a long time. I feel like I was ready year 2 or 3, but I think with my dad and uncles, they were, well, you got to earn it a little bit more. And looking back, I respect that a lot. But then if you see 3 years, nothing against my dad and uncles, what they built, but
Yep.
Really within 2 years.
Hold on now. I want to make sure I'm getting what you're saying. Josh, I want to make sure I'm getting what you're saying, because the audio cut out a little bit, but essentially what you said is that over the last 2 years, I want to make sure I got it clear. You correct me if not. Over the last 2 years, you guys have been able to really kind of scale the business 10 times. Do you say 10 times?
10 times within 2 years.
Wow. 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 So, wow. It's nothing like a fresh perspective, What do you think that's really?
Oh, man. I think it comes down to your why. And for me, my why was my community. And then as I got down to my why, I could say, okay, then what would be your dream beyond of like what I thought what we can do just in our Japanese community? It's much, much bigger than that. And so I honestly, I just think that if people can understand the why they do things, what they do and what they say, and just their whole, presence, it's more powerful. So that, I think I found my why, and that's the reason why we've grown so fast.
Is that what keeps you motivated? Like just the community and those efforts? Is that what keeps you motivated in the business day to day now?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So let's go into what Origin is doing, what you're doing with Japan Council and the other organizations that you're affiliated with, and the Asians American in insurance, right? Asian Americans in insurance. How did those? So you've come into the industry. You said, hey, I'm in the agency. You work your way up. And your dad and your uncles, they put you through the gauntlet, make sure you're ready, right? You get your shot, you guys grow it. You could just say, hey, look, I'm running my business. I'm serving the community, but I'm doing well, I'm successful. I can ride there. Why the other initiatives? What was the spark for that?
If it were, really, because it drills down to the money. Like if the money were enough, we could, everyone's point is different. But yeah, okay, let's just walk away. We're happy. We achieved what we want to achieve. Seriously, when I walk away from this business, the money means nothing to me. It's all about, and I can go into some of the systemic barriers that have not allowed our minority communities to truly thrive. And if I keep 30 years, that's what makes me feel satisfied. And so every day, my job is to be able to create a better opportunity for that next generation that comes after me. And so that's where we get into the Asians in Insurance podcast. Our Asian communities don't like talking about ourselves. So I said, some of these people within insurance that are from an Asian background, they got to have their story heard. And so we just started allowing people to tell their stories. And Asians in our community are like, oh, I want to be like them, or I don't know them. How can I get to know them? And then it's like that voices to the Asian American Insurance Network that surprisingly, there's not a national association that connects us all. So we're like, okay, it's a lot of people that were on cast are like, why don't we come together, start a nonprofit, and let's see how much traction we get. And it has been unbelievable, the support we've gotten.
It's amazing because we met, a few weeks ago in DC at the Black Friday event. Ngozi and Najee connected us. Shout out to Ngozi. She's amazing.
She's the best.
She's amazing, right? But I was surprised that there was not an Asian American insurance network. Do you find that's surprising when Asian people in the insurance industry, are they surprised to find out that this organization has not existed prior?
Oh yeah, I think everybody's shocked, but everybody is also saying looking for because there's.
Hey Josh, all right, hold on. What I'm going to do is.
Yeah.
All right. So with the Asian American Insurance Network, it's surprising that this organization has not existed, previously. So it started with the podcast initially to tell these stories. And then as you're telling the stories, you're like, hey, we need to have an organization that's based around this. You had mentioned earlier some of the systemic, issues that, minorities have faced. Obviously, Asians have faced it, African Americans have faced it here in this country. Our Latina community has faced it. Now in modern times, you have the LGBTQ community that's facing, different challenges. What are some of the things that you've seen, and specifically maybe speaking to the Asian American community, that have been those common experiences in this industry that you're kind of breaking the proverbial chains on, if you will?
Yeah, when coming out of World War II, our community couldn't get an appointment to do business. And so we had to band together with 10, 15 other Japanese agents to get one appointment to do business. And that's how we had to start, right? And just to think, if we had the same opportunity as our counterparts to be able to have access to carrier relationships that would be willing to work with our community, where would we be at today? And so some of that stuff is still continuing on, where there's certain premium volumes from insurance carriers that already, just for a lot of small agents in minority communities, they can't get to 500,000 in premium within a year, within 2 years, right? And so they end up not being able to have these great carriers to work with. And so what that also perpetuates is their clients don't get preferred carriers or preferred rates to be able to work with. And then there's these, around zip codes, right? There's reasons why certain insurance carriers won't write in certain zip codes, which to me doesn't make any sense, other than the fact that maybe there's some feelings towards what goes on in that community. And so there are a ton of systemic barriers for entry. I use a story from our personal experience, because the only reason why we got St. Paul back in the day is because our marketing rep happened to be from Spanish descent. And she went to bat for us. And, St. Paul is now Travelers, but she went to bat for us at a very early time in our agency's life cycle, saying that you guys have to work with these guys, these J. Morey Company. They're incredible people. They have great relationships. They write very profitable business. And so we needed somebody to advocate on our behalf for us to even be able to have a competitive product. So you still see that across the board today, though, nationally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really do. And, it's interesting that, I think in 2020 with George Floyd, there was a heightened awareness, of some of the disparities that have existed, even though they've always existed. I mean, these things have always been hidden in plain sight, so to speak. What have you seen that, you've been able to really, I guess, see as growth? What have you seen that you've really been able to look at and say, hey, you know what? Okay, things maybe are headed in a new direction or in a better direction, or are you seeing that at all?
Yeah, we definitely are seeing it. And I think that the encouraging part is that people are having to have this conversation around DE&I now, whether they want to have it or not. They have to have it within ESG initiatives that are happening. And so however genuine they are or they're not, I feel like it's a great starting place, because we're actually having the conversation about it. That starts at a very high level, but as it starts at a high level, it comes down. And so you're seeing more employee resource groups within our industry to support certain diverse backgrounds, so that you can at least have a collective voice you can share with each other and support each other, and then also collectively give feedback to your employer, which are usually larger companies. I think the exciting part for us as being minorities in this industry is there are supplier diversity goals that are coming from the White House that could be around infrastructure that will then and these are billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars, that now come down to our communities, requiring a certain amount of percentage of diverse suppliers to win the RFPs. And so I think for us now, maybe it is our time. It hasn't been our time for a long time, but maybe it is our time now, right? Where we get special opportunities because of initiatives that are being brought down. And for us, I'm incredibly excited for this for our company, because historically we haven't been able to, even be able to go after some of these RFPs for public entities or county programs or city programs, because the requirements were just way too high. So I think it's an incredible time to be a minority in our industry, but a lot of progress still to be made.
No, I love it, man. You know what my favorite part of the DE&I initiative is? My favorite part? It's the equity part. Equity.
I love it. Yep.
Like let's create opportunities for more equity, within that diverse market. So that's awesome, man. And what do you so with organizations like the Asian American Insurance Network, NIA, the Latin American Insurance Association, what do you feel is the importance of, and you know what, not even those just for minorities, but even other professionals who are inside of this space, but speaking to these particular initiatives, what do you feel the role is and the importance is of these organizations with professionals? And not saying what the organizations have to do. Why do you think professionals need to actually join and participate in these organizations so that they can be a part of initiating, these changes that are occurring?
Yeah, one of my friends uses the slogan of like minds, and I really feel that that's powerful, because a lot of times you feel like you're the only person in the room, and so to be able to join organizations where the people think like you, people have similar experiences to you, and you're of like minds truly. For one thing, I think it's supportive, and you're able to know, okay, I'm not alone. And then beyond that, it's okay, then now what can we do together? And I know NIA is having their national conference this year. I think it's 25 years, but to see all the progress that the organization has made as a whole. I know for us within the Asian community, with the Asian, we're calling it AIN, Asian American Insurance Network. We're using that as a model of how can we just get people in the door. Once you get people in the door of like minds, then you start sharing, you collaborating, and then the amplification becomes exponential. So I would just encourage anybody to join these organizations. And the fun part, Rod, is going to be to see what we as AIN, with NIA and with LIA and with other diverse organizations, what can we do together now, where maybe that collaboration hasn't happened as proactively in the past.
Yeah, I mean, if we put all of the percentages together, then we might almost be half of the industry.
Hey, let's go.
Actually, no, it might be like 30% if we put them all together. I'm thinking about the statistics now. I'm thinking about the percentages statistic. So yeah, man, listen, I agree with you 100%, that, the organizations are going to be as powerful as the people who are joining them, supporting them, and really able to participate in driving the initiatives, holding the companies accountable, sharing knowledge with one another, finding ways to collaborate. I think even your example, even though it was under strange circumstances, we shouldn't have to collaborate just out of necessity, but when you mentioned like you said 15 agents had to come together so that they could get one appointment. I mean, that's crazy, but it drove the collaboration, right? But it drove the collaborations, like those tense times, and we've had some tense times in the past couple of years, and now the energy, the momentum is definitely there, for these organizations to keep growing. It sounds like, I mean, you being in this space, man, your life has gone in a completely different direction than what you initially planned. High school and college, you would be a professional athlete. At this point, had it gone, the way that you thought back then, but it seems like, now that, hey, not only are you gratified, but you're really living in your purpose, in this space. Because if you hadn't gone in insurance, then there wouldn't be an Asian American Insurance Network starting.
Hopefully really, somebody would have started it at some point, right? But
hopefully, right? But I want to ask you, how do you feel like your life has been different? And I'd say the term with the license versus before after license versus before license, but going into the industry, participating in this space versus not participating? How do you feel like, your life has been changed, or how you've been changed as a person?
Yeah, and you kind of said it previously, is that if I were still in baseball, so if I could I was unlicensed when I was pursuing my baseball career, and that's what I thought that I really wanted to do. I think what has held true to me my whole life, though, is, and I tip my hat to my parents and my grandparents and those who've gone before me, is there's a value system within me that is built around, community. It's built around integrity, built around honesty. My mom used to tell me before she passed, you've been so blessed, you need to bless others. And so I think I think the underlining tones of, regardless of what I did, were there. I think prior to being licensed, maybe I could influence, 25 guys on a baseball team that I was coaching, right? And that would have been impactful. But since getting licensed and creating these opportunities, not only for my family and our community, but in our employees, but for our broader diverse communities, it's been more than I've ever dreamed. And I think what I love too is that I love to see the people around me that are coming and joining, to see them thriving, and that they can have a certain lifestyle that they want to live. They can give to the nonprofits that they want to give to. They can go, on a 2-week cruise in the Mediterranean if they want. Like that stuff, to see other people creating a livelihood for themselves is so fulfilling, that prior to being in insurance, like I said, I could, maybe impact a couple people or a few people at a time.
So it sounds like it's expanded your vision.
Absolutely.
Over the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in doing that, okay, so you said something earlier. You said 30 years from now, you've left, you've made an impact that's just beyond, just offering the product or running the agency. What is Josh Morey's legacy 30 years from now? What's the bigger picture, the ultimate goal at the end of the day?
I would say that for our diverse communities, that we have more opportunity, or equal opportunity, true equal opportunity within insurance. And I'm just dialing into the insurance space because that's what we do. But I think the ripple effect of, if we can do it in insurance, why can't we do it in other industries? So that, maybe that's 10 years from now, and then I could just retire. But or Rod, you and I got to talk a lot more. Like, we got to figure this out. But
absolutely, man. Hey, let me see. Listen, I'm 43 right now. 50. I'm trying to really kind of be ready to level it out, So
okay, so I'll be 40 in 2 weeks. So if we can accomplish this by the time you're 50 and walk away and have already passed that baton, well, and that's the other thing, is I can only speak for my generation. And so if I can inspire somebody that's in their 20s right now, that in 10 years can take the baton and implement strategies and be supported and valued, and I would love to turn over the reins at any point. I'm building into that already.
Yeah. Are you already planting the seeds for your children to come into the business? Are they cleaning toilets? Yet. One of your sons is 9, right? Is he cleaning the toilets in the office?
At home, not at the office. Yeah, that's one thing. I got to carry on that tradition. That's my fault.
Oh, good, man. So, hey, look, I really appreciate you coming on and taking some time to share. Just as we get ready to close out, if there's somebody who's listening and, maybe they're thinking about getting to the space, maybe they heard, maybe they heard something, a friend, maybe mentioned it to them, or, they listened to this conversation because they follow the platform and see some of the motivational posts that we have. And they say, hey, let me check that out. What kind of guidance would you give to them if they're on the fence and kind of thinking about getting into this business?
I would say, whichever state you're in, go take the license test. It takes 40 hours or 50 hours to complete. You can do it online. Go take the test. You can do a crash course, and it'll be very easy to help you pass the test, get your license, and that'll open up doors for you to start selling insurance or servicing, or really being able to see all the opportunities that are within the industry. But it is such a great opportunity The recurring revenue is amazing, and the stability of our industry. I don't think any of us are worrying about getting laid off right now because the industry continues to be what it is.
That's right. Recession proof, recurring revenue via those renewals. I mean, it's what better business than the business of money itself, you know, dealing with
absolutely
our financial foundations, right? And just more educated to not only for yourself and your family, but you're more educated to empower others, you know, and it's going to influence the decisions you make. I mean, there's just so many benefits. Thank you for sharing that. Now, for those who are in California, Hawaii, Massachusetts, right? And they say, you know, man, Josh Morey, I want to connect with him. Or even, you know, some of the Asian community who are listening to this, and, you know, they want to be a part of AIM, right? They want to know how to get more information. How can they connect with you? How can they get more information on what you got going on?
Best is through LinkedIn. My name's Joshua Morey on LinkedIn, and you can find my email and all my contact information there.
All right. We'll make sure that we have it, you know, listed as well here, where you can find Origin, and we got to get all those URLs, and we'll have them posted so you can click. And looking forward to is this going to be the first AIM event coming up in 2023 in January? Is that going to be January?
We're doing a couple others throughout the U.S. Most of them are piggybacking on other conferences that are taking place, but the one, in January is going to be. Hopefully, you're coming out for it.
I'm definitely coming out for it. I'm long overdue for a trip to LA. Long overdue. You know. So
let me know.
I appreciate the time. Thank you so much, you know, for being on, and for everyone who has listened, you know, to Josh and his story, from the legacy of his family to his career in sports and as an athlete, to his journey in this industry, to taking over the family business, but not just taking over and coasting, but scaling it and then expanding into a phenomenal community service, a true community service initiative that's growing not just in his hometown, but nationwide across the country. Please, you know, make sure that you support, lock in. If you want to get more information, you know, reach out to him as well. And maybe you heard something in this conversation that inspired you, that motivated you. You know, you got some education, some knowledge that made you think to yourself, maybe you should get a license. And until the next time, take care.